In this tutorial we're going to look at taking a very washed out image to the left here and really bring out a lot more detail and colour and contrast in the image to the right. So we're going to use the PhotoMaster kit, and we're also going to try and achieve the same look by just using the actions on their own. So let's close this image down and open up our PhotoMaster action folder and click on Launch PhotoMaster. Open up the PhotoMaster PSD file. Now we'll select our original photo. Now Photoshop will set up the file for us. So this gives us a look at the original size of the photo, and it's a chance for us to change the dimensions here. So I'm happy with 800, and so we'll turn this down to 72 dpi. Put this back up to 800. Okay. Alright. So the first thing I want to do is really look at the contrast. I want to try and get rid of this wash that's over the image. It's really graying it out and not making it look very nice at all. So what we're going to do, we're going to head into the contrast folder, and we're going to go into the contrast for light images. Because of this wash, I feel that the contrast sets in here are really going to crunch that down. So let's start at the bottom here and see what results we get. So I'm really liking number 10 here. The opacity of all these folders are set to 50, so it gives you a chance to turn it up or down. So let's start at 0 and move our way up. So that's looking quite nice, and if we turn on the original photo layer, we can already see a dramatic improvement. So what we can do now is experiment with some of the actions inside the master contrast folder. Let's play our enhance it action and see what we get. So that's way too overkill, but the enhance it action will essentially increase the brightness, contrast, color saturation and sharpness of the image, so it does a bit of everything in one. So this layer comes in at an opacity of 70, so if we click and hold on opacity, drag to the left, take to 0 and start dragging it to the right, you can see its effect there. So we'll take it up a little bit higher, and you can see it's starting to blow out some of the white areas. So what we'll do, we'll grab the highlight reduce strong, we'll play that action, and let's drag that up to 100%. Let's move it on top of the enhance it layer and see what we get. Alright, that's more like it. So if we bring it back to 0, we'll start crunching down the highlights. Alright, next thing we want to do is really bring up these colours. I want the colours in this image to really be a highlight. So what we can do, we can head into the color folder here, and inside boost colors we have two more folders. We have an overall color boost, so if you click that on, it will boost up all the saturation of all the colors in the image. So we can grab this folder, take it to 0 and bring it back up. But I think what I want to do is I want to leave this orange but crank up the blues. So if we go into individual color boost, see we've got 4 folders here where we can essentially boost the saturation of these colors. So if we select blue, play that, we can drag that up and you can see the color that's at 0 and 100. So I want to get that up pretty high. Next, I want to bring out these greens. So if we click on the green folder, you can immediately see that effect. 100, 0. So we just bring that up a little bit. Okay, that's looking good. So what we might do now is go back into the contrast folder and we'll try adding another contrast effect on top and see if we can mix two together. So I'm liking 8, we'll turn that down to 0 and we'll bring it in, slide it to the right. Okay, I think I might actually bring up these oranges a little bit more. So we'll go into color, boost colors, individual color boost, click on orange, bring that up to 100. Alright, we'll jump into the master contrast folder, and what we might do is we'll run the HDR light to sort of bring out a bit of excuse me, a bit of detail. So we can play that. Bring it up to 100%. You just look at his skin, that's 0, that's 100. So we want to bring that up probably around the 50% mark. I think that's pretty good. And might just look at a further contrast action. So we'll click on strong contrast. Bring it up to 100%. 0. We'll bring up the layer order and see how that affects the image. Okay, I'm quite liking it just above HDR light, so we'll turn it down to 0. Bring that in. And that's looking pretty good. What we might also do here is add some color effect on top of the image. See what results we get. So let's have a look at warming, see what it looks like. So warming is actually, if you look at his skin, it's actually brought out those oranges really nicely. So we'll bring that up the layer order here. Bring it down. Quite like it here, and it's currently set to 50%, so we'll look at it at 0, then 100. So I think around 60% is good. What we can do now, we can also go into the color folder and look at additional effects on top of these existing layers. So if we want to have a look at some red color looks, go inside the red folder, and we just tick on some of these layers. That's pretty cool. Some are very subtle, so 7 will turn it up to 100, 0, 100. It's actually brought some nice contrast into the image and boosted up the red a little bit. So we'll leave that. I don't think there's too much we need to do to this. I'm pretty happy with that. So we compare that against the original. See, there's a dramatic difference. So we'll now finish up and we'll go to finish sharpen. So we can play that action. It's going to bring up the smart sharpen dialog box, and we can, I recommend setting the radius to 0.3, remove lens blur and click more accurate. So we'll start off at 0 and drag it up really high to see the effect. You go it down to 0, so I think somewhere around 33% is going to be nice. Click OK. What I might do, so before that, we'll just delete that layer, go back into the color, boost colors. The overall color boost, we might bring that on a little bit. Currently I've put that onto 0, so we'll just click, hold and drag that to the right. We'll just bring in even more color at 20%. Okay, so let's sharpen that up again. %. Alright, and I think we are done. So if I hold down Shift and click on the mask on the original photo layer, that will just hide that split screen effect. So we can turn this layer on, and then we can turn Final with sharpening visibility off and on to compare before and after. Before and after. So you can see there's a massive difference, and achieved with only a few clicks. So you can see the flexibility the PhotoMaster template gives you, especially when working with contrast and color. So what we're going to do now, we're just going to close this down. We're going to open up the original image again, and we're just going to use the actions on their own to see what effects we can achieve. So we'll close that down and open up the original photo. So here we are. So what we want to look at first is removing this wash that's over the image. It's also desaturating the colors quite a lot. So you can see we can really bring up the blues and the orange throughout the lizard, and there's a lot of lost detail that which we can sharpen. So let's go into Master Contrast folder, and let's just play Strong Contrast to see if that will. So that's done a pretty good job. That's removed quite a lot of the wash, and at 50% that's not too bad. So we can bring that up higher. Let's try about 67%, somewhere around there. And what we want to do now is focus on these colors. It's quite washed out. So let's go into our looks folder, scroll down, and there's a section where you can individually boost colors. All you need to do with these actions is select which layer you would like to boost the color on, and that's it. So we'll go straight to our background layer, and as I boost the red, just watch the skin on the lizard, the orange section. You can see that's done a really good job at bringing out that color. So I'll play it again, but this time look at his tail. So really nice color that's brought out. So we can do this on other colors as well. So we can boost the blue again, and we could also boost the green. So that's looking much nicer now. Okay, let's go back into our contrast folder and see if we can add a bit of sharpness to this lizard to bring out some of the details, especially in the head. So let's play HDR strong. So 50% is looking quite nice. But I think we want to apply some contrast to this action as well. You can see as I bring it up from 0, it's washing out the background. It's bringing good detail into the lizard, but we also have this other action called HDR Strong Contrast, which should keep the same luminosity throughout the image, but just add detail. So if we click play, so that's done a much better job. So if I bring this back to 0, we'll start dragging that up to 100, 0, so around, I think somewhere around towards the 50% mark will work nice. Okay, let's see if we can further reduce this wash over the image. So let's play another strong contrast. Let's bring that below the HDR strong contrast layer and see how that affects things. We'll bring it up to 100%, 0. So that's looking good. So what we can do now is we can compare what we have against the original. So I've created this action here because called before after comparison. So if we just click play on that, you can see on the left we have our original image, and on the right we have the image that we're currently working on. So you can see a big difference in sharpness, especially throughout the lizard, and just clarity. So let's delete this layer, and what we can also do is, if we're happy with this look but we want to add more effects on top of it, we can go flatten image and add more. So click play on that, and you can see it has merged all the layers together. So then we can proceed to add more effects on top. So let's go ahead and play warming. Warming does a really good job at contributing to the red tones throughout an image. So let's just set that to about 60%, and let's try cinema effect. So the cinema effect, if I bring that up to 100, you can see is adding some cyan tones to the highlights and some purple tones to the shadows. So we bring that back to 0, bring it up slowly. That just creates a really cool look to the image. So we're happy with this. We can then finish up and sharpen the photo to bring out more detail. Set that around to 30%, and we can also add a vignette if we want. Bring that down. We can adjust the opacity up on the vignette layer. So there we go. So what I'll do, I will just place the original photo back over the top before we boosted the colours on it, so we can see a good comparison. So there is our before, and with a few colour looks and a bit of contrast and sharpening, we have a totally different image which really pops and stands out.